This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Alyssa Orange from Pig Trail Nation with us on this Wednesday, day one of early signing period, which looks like Arkansas's got everyone they expected to sign, I think. Alyssa, am I right about that? Everybody they thought would sign today, at least before the decommitments over last weekend, they got them?
I believe Quincy Rhodes is signing at 1 o'clock in Little Rock, but I believe that's the only one that they're waiting on. I think Shamar Easter is going to sign in the next year. So, yeah, we're close. There's one more, and then, of course, we don't really know which way he's going to go, Quincy. So,
well, do we have a sense of how Shamar is going to go? Like, at this point, he's made an official visit to South Carolina where Dowell Loggins is recruiting him hard. I'm not counting him as a commit any longer because if he was a commit, he would sign today. Is that how we're viewing it now?
I think so. I think you have to, at this point, with the early signing period and the way that it's gone and evolved, if they don't sign today, they're still exploring options, so you can't bank on them. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's all to be expected when, you got to expect the unexpected in this ridiculous sport. But I will say, like, the thing that I think is the best part of the day so far is getting this defensive end out of Pitt. I think there's going to be more defensive players that announce that they're coming to Arkansas, and I'm talking about more. Maybe the word established isn't right in some cases. Morgan was established for a good defensive team, but it's like he said, big boy football, SEC. It's an audition for the next level. I think Arkansas is going to replenish their defense.
I think so, too. And that's a big get out of the ACC, as you mentioned, a Pitt team that was really good defensively a year ago. And even you got guys like Jordan Dominic who are sticking around, who transferred in last year from Georgia Tech. And even though they weren't a great defensive team, and that team and program has struggled over the years, you could tell he was a guy who had some untapped talent and can build off of that. And that's the kind of guys you really need on this defensive side of the football who can come in and make immediate impacts. You get that through the transfer portal.
From what I've seen about Coach Williams, I've liked him. Did he? What were your thoughts about him? His initial press conference, and what kind of player do you think he's going to go after? What kind of player is he trying to bring to the University of Arkansas?
Yeah, so love the opening press conference with Sam, which was a little more obviously formal. Listen to his episode of The Daily, though, with Q and Z, and those guys could pull personality out of anyone, and really enjoyed listening to that because I think you got a real good taste of who Travis Williams is. He was able to kind of talk about his background playing at Auburn, playing on those really talented teams in the early 2000s, but you can still tell that he's established. He knows the kind of defense that he wants to run with speed and with playmakers, but he's still got that young energy, too, that excites recruits. And he can go out there and he can have a little bit of swagger on the recruiting trail and get guys who want to play for him because of the way that he holds himself. He's fun, but he's serious. I mean, he kept iterating. I love on the guys. Guys got to know that you love them, but we're going to be hard and we've got a job to do. So I see him going out there, really, I think, recruiting speed, but as a background of a linebacker, bringing in linebackers that Arkansas needs again, guys like your Dre Greenlaws and Martrell Spates that are just going to hit you hard. And I'm excited to see that kind of talent back on the hill again.
Alyssa, those Auburn teams he played on, that's one thing I told Phil whenever he got hired. I said, man, those teams would hit you. They were fast and they would fly around and they were tough. I love it too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I think it's going to be a fun new brand of defense. Not at all a knock at Barry Odom, but I think sometimes something new and fresh is never a bad thing.
Tight end coach Morgan Turner, I think needs to find a tight end to transfer in now, because there's I don't expect that Hudson's coming back. Nathan Bax, and we don't even know if you're getting two of the three tight end commits that you thought. Bixby obviously signed with Kansas. Right. You do have Dylan Haas, but that's a position where you're not bringing in a tight end coach who's that well respected and be like, you know what, this is just a throwaway position. They need somebody that can start now.
They do, yeah. And I think Lucas is a great get, and so that's a perk. But this was a class with Dow that had 3 really big guys. And again, Shamar Easter, don't know what he's going to do. But you got to bring in some talent.
Alyssa, are any of those guys, are any of those tight ends coming in?
Lucas is.
Okay.
But that's it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you've got him. And so we'll see what happens. Obviously, you lose Trey Knox. He's going to South Carolina, which wasn't a surprise. But that opens up a door for anyone who is a tight end looking for a spot, like come and be the number 1 guy right now at Arkansas. I'm interested to see if Hudson Henry stays, Phil, because this is a coach that recruited him highly out of high school. And it was really between Arkansas, Stanford was in the mix for Hudson, too, when he was out there on the recruiting trail out of high school. And so does he take a little bit more consideration and decide to stay one more year because of the relationship he already has with the new tight ends coach? So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. If he does not, they've got to find somebody out of the portal quickly in the next year.
How is it, and I know we've been in a lot of portal with this game coming up, how is the health of KJ Jefferson, the running backs? Is his shoulder feeling fine? Is he going through all the practices now?
Mm-hmm, he is, yeah. And I think KJ, if you were to ask him, he'd tell you that he's feeling great. I think what's really been big for him is to just continue to have that consistency with some handful of guys. We got that depth chart out a couple of days ago, and Matt Landers and Rakeem Sanders and Rocket Sanders and guys that he just has a comfortability with, that he can start throwing to, that he can build rapport with, in addition to these new guys. But I think KJ understands that if this is going to be a team that's going to be successful here in the next couple of days at the Liberty Bowl, it goes through him. And he knows that, and he's trying not to be distracted by all the outside noise of people leaving and coming and going, and just trying to be KJ and proving once again that he's the quarterback for the University of Arkansas for a reason.
Well, I also think, Alyssa, that they're going to look in the portal for wide receivers. So this is an opportunity for Isaiah Satania, Bryce Stevens, Jaden Wilson, Mbake, to develop that in-game, on-field chemistry with KJ for next year before whomever it is comes in and grabs some of those headlines. That's important for the game next Wednesday in and of itself, but maybe even more so for the future.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, if I'm any of those guys that you just listed, my goal on Wednesday next week is to not to Sam Pittman to say, what do I need another wide receiver for? I got this guy. I'm going to go into that game and prove to myself that it's like, you don't need to shop anywhere else, coach. I'm standing right here. And so I hope that that's the approach that these guys are taking, and they should. They're competitors, they're D1 athletes, that you don't have to look any farther. Does Arkansas need some more depth? Absolutely. But if I'm them, don't look any farther than what you've already got right here on the hill, coach. Look at me. And so I hope that we see that from those guys on Wednesday.
I hope we see that, Alyssa, on the defensive side. Man, I hope they fly around. I hope they keep it simple and let these guys fly around and make plays. And like Coach Williams said, evaluate and that we got some more talent up there. That's what I like to see on the defensive side.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited, Matt, of all the people that are going to be playing on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, Quincy McAdoo is just fun to watch.
Can't wait to watch him.
Growth. But Jordan Crook at linebacker, I'm so excited to see what he can do because I was impressed with him during fall camp, and he just didn't really get a whole bunch of reps. He's had a couple of looks in some games, but he'll be playing opposite of Pooh Paul, and I'm really excited for this guy to kind of come onto the scene. He reminds me a little bit of that Martrell Spate, and so I'm super pumped to see what he's going to do.
Basketball today and tonight, Alyssa. I guess you'll probably have your eyes on Flow Hoops for the women's team against South Florida. 8 o'clock, North Carolina, Asheville. That ought to be a blowout. We look at that as a trap game for the women's team, man. I mean, and just as difficult for South Florida, going and playing an extra 5 minutes against a possible Final Four team in Ohio State and losing that one. And man, it was tough. I thought the Hogs had Oregon yesterday when they got up by 7, And
Yes.
but man, I mean, things change pretty briskly from that point on. This is I'm not going to say the season rests on this game, nor is it like some huge game that everything swings upon, because it's a week before they play again. But 2-1 on a road trip is better than 1-2.
Absolutely. And I think that when you look at what USF was able to do and hold their own against Oregon State or Ohio State yesterday, taking them to OT, that was really impressive. And quite frankly, I mean, they were seconds away from winning that game. You hated to see the basket go stale for the women against Oregon last night because they were just playing really, really well. Erin Barnum shooting the three. I mean, when she hits 3 threes, that's impressive, right? And so I think they're going to be ready for this game. I don't think Mike Neighbors needs to do anything special to get his team ready to play USF. They saw what they did to Ohio State, taking them all the way down to the wire in OT. So it's going to be a fun basketball game. I loved what he said yesterday. I'm sure he said it to you too, Phil, after the game. This feels like a Sweet 16 environment. These are 4 teams that are really, really talented, and we belong in this group. So I expect it to be a battle. But I think if Arkansas can play the way that they played yesterday against Oregon, minus going stale offensively those last 8.5 minutes, then I think they can have success against USF.
Alyssa, what's Christmas in the Radler household, Radler Orange household like?
Chaos. No, so the kiddos, it's really fun because Ben obviously loves Santa and gifts, and Bella now at 18 months kind of just understands the gift part of it, and she's running around going, Santa, Santa, around the house, so that's funny. But we'll wake up, the kids will probably wake us up early, may or may not make me a nice white Russian and let the kids open up their gifts, and then we'll head over to my husband's parents' house to do a white elephant of sorts gift trade-off with them, so I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like a really good time.
Yeah,
well, we'll
and
catch
some
up.
sausage, egg, and cheese casserole.
No,
Yeah.
well, no, I had breakfast a couple hours ago. I don't need to eat. You didn't make me all that hungry. But Alyssa, appreciate
sorry.
you. Merry Christmas. We'll catch up on the other
Thanks,
side
guys.
of the Liberty Bowl, okay?
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.